Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast and welcome to the first ever podcast not filmed in my car. We're in a building today. I'm filming this in my makeup room / my boyfriend's office, kind of doubles as both. If you're listening to the audio and I'm watching this, then that's the vibe. We're inside, we're in a room, we're not in my car, and I'm gonna be honest, it feels great. It feels really nice to be at home and be comfortable and recording this because I love filming them in my car. I think it's a fun concept. However, it's physically uncomfortable, right, to sit in my car for an hour straight. Whereas right now I'm sat in my makeup chair. This is great. This is so much more comfortable. Yeah, welcome back. Hope you enjoy the little change. You're joining me today in quite a productive day, actually. Yesterday I got fuck all done and I was in such a bad mood. So I think today I was like, I'm going to overcompensate. So I got up a bit early. I meal prepped all my lunches for the week. I'm recording a podcast. I've got Pilates in an hour. I think we're very much overcompensating for yesterday. However, we're having a good day. And today I wanted to talk about, also if you can hear construction, I'm going to have to say this every single time I record an episode here. There is a lot of building houses going on around here. So if you can hear diggers and trucks, no you can't. No you can't. You're hearing things. But anyway, today I wanted to talk about something that's been on my mind recently about myself. Something a little bit personal. So I never really thought of myself as someone who cares super deeply about what other people think of me, right? I'm pretty confident to, go out, do things alone. I'd go to dinner alone. I would travel alone. I would, the other week I literally went to a random yoga class in the middle of nowhere by myself with no one that I knew. Those kinds of things don't faze me. I feel pretty comfortable. I think, okay, this is what I've realized. I'm having a bit of an epiphany about myself. When it comes to the general public or people that I don't know, I don't really give a fuck what your perception of me is. I don't really care if I look stupid, if you think I'm a loser, you think I'm ugly. I don't really give a fuck because I don't know you, and I think I'm so aware of how fleetingly we really pay attention to passing people in our lives. It's really not something we generally focus on or care that much about, and I think I'm so aware of that I don't care about things like that. I would happily go to most things just by myself. I don't care. That's never really fazed me, or it hasn't for a long time. However, I've had a couple instances recently, let's say in the last 2 or 3 months, where people who know me or somewhat know me have had a negative evaluation of me. And these things, I'm kind of focusing on 2 things. I'm obviously not going to go into detail about what they are, but in my brain there's a couple of instances. And they're very different contexts, but the same vibe of, I think I find someone having a negative opinion of me extremely horrifying. Turns out, I thought that was something that I really don't care about. But I think I've realized I don't care when I don't know you. I really don't care if I don't know you. But I feel like if you know me and you formed a negative opinion of me, it freaks me out. It really freaks me out. I don't think this is uncommon. This is just something that I've realized about myself. Because like I said, I didn't think I really cared. I didn't really think I was the kind of person who really put much weight on other people's opinions of me. Because in a lot of contexts, I really don't. But I realized there are situations where it really bugs me and I don't want it to bug me. Because obviously if there's a situation where, say I do something awful to someone and then they don't like me, that's valid. Right? That's valid. But there's a lot of situations in life, I feel, where people form a negative opinion of you, decide they don't like you, they think you're a bad person, whatever the fuck, for a reason that isn't so valid. Obviously people could not like you. People are not going to like you. Obviously, we know that. Not everyone's going to like you. However, there are times in life where you aren't doing anything wrong, right? And someone can still look at the situation and walk away from it and think, I don't like that person, I think they're a bad person, I think they've done this wrong. And you can't do anything about that. And that is something that I've realized I have trouble doing. I find it infuriating when someone has an opinion of me that I'm like, but that's not right. Or you have got obviously your own perception of that, but you don't fucking know me that well. And it really bugs me, and it's bugging me that it bugs me, because that's not something that I want to care about. I don't want to put weight on that. Because like I said, someone can not like you for a valid reason. There are a lot of contexts where someone could form a negative opinion of you, have a negative perception of you as a person for reasons that are not your own, right? Someone can have their own agenda. Someone can be projecting something onto you. Sometimes people are just grumpy for no reason. And also, sometimes people will make you out in their own brain or maybe in their own social circles to be a bad person or be the villain or something when they fucked up, right? This is the thing that we've all experienced when someone does something wrong and they kind of just blame you and make you out to be the bad person. They will have this negative perception of you for that. And that, again, is their own reasoning, is their own agenda. It's not necessarily based in reality. But this is another reason why someone could have a negative perception of you and you can't control that, right? It's not always that you've done something to warrant that negative perception, right? Whether it is based in reality or it's completely someone else's, like, a reflection of them entirely. People are so, like, complicated. It literally could be so many different things. But whatever the reason is, it can still annoy us, right? It still bothers us for people to not like us or think badly of us. However, obviously, this is something we can't control. We can try our best to be good people and do what we think is right and stuff, but people can still think you're a bitch, which does not sit right with me. It makes me annoyed, and this is something I'm trying to work on, because again, you can't control that. You cannot control that, and it's gonna happen, to be honest. Whatever you do, someone's not gonna like you, someone's gonna think you're a bitch, someone's gonna think you're stuck up, or something random when it's like, but I'm not, you just don't know me, like things like that. I don't want to give that rent in my brain. I don't want to be giving that the power to get under my skin. Yeah, anyway, like I said, I had a couple instances, and I kind of was just reflecting, and I started kind of connecting the dots, realizing the theme is, even though these things are completely unlinked and completely different situations, there is a theme of, like, why do I care, right? Why is it bothering me? Is it just because, it's human to care? It's very normal to care about what people think of you and to want people to have the correct, idea of you in their heads. Is it that is why it's bugging me? Or is it, like, a sense of justice, like a sense of, but that's not true, and maybe it bothers me because it feels unfair when it's, like, not true, or it's, like, an incorrect judgment or something, or it's like a warped view of me, right? It feels like a sense of justice of, like, get it right, that's not right. Is it that, I started debating, like, why is it that this bugs me? Because I think in order to grow and change these things, you need to know why they're bothering you in the first place. Because I've noticed that, like I said, if someone has a negative perception of me that feels incorrect, again, if it's correct, like I've done something and they're like, I don't like you because of this, that's different, valid. Valid. But that's kind of not what I'm talking about, because that is a lot easier to kind of digest, and it's obviously a shame, but, like, sometimes that's just what happens and you deserve it. Sometimes you don't deserve it, though. That's the thing. A lot of the time we don't deserve it, and a lot of the time it's other people's problems, and that's kind of what I'm talking about. Like, when people have a negative perception of you that isn't warranted, or that's, like, a distorted perception, and people walk around with a negative view of you or don't like you or think you're a bad person or whatever for, like, almost invalid reasons, right? It's like you almost aren't getting the full story. And I noticed that I feel this, like, desire and this, like, reflex to want to explain myself when this happens, to want to, like, set the story right and fully explain the situation so that people, like, understand me more and don't think poorly of me, right? I've noticed that I do feel like but they don't understand, like, I need to go and, like, fully set it right. Like, I don't want them walking around thinking that of me. However, this is what I mean, like, why does it bother me? Like, I know it's normal. I know it's not, like, insane that would bother you. But why does it really matter if someone is walking around with this narrative of, oh, Brooke is this type of person, right? Brooke is like this. I don't like Brooke because of this. And if it's wrong, why does it bother me? If someone wants to think that. If someone wants to walk around thinking that and it's literally bullshit, why does it bother me? Why does it bother me? Because, like, okay, you do you, think what you want. If I know that's not true, why do I care? I think to detach from that and allow people to create their own opinions of you is to detach from your ego in a lot of ways. It's like you care because of your ego sometimes, or, like, needing to strengthen your own self-concept and feel firmer in that. Like, if you feel very strongly about the fact that you know who you are and what you're like as a person, like, genuinely to your core, that, and you have a really strong, like, self-concept, I don't think it would bother you as much. Maybe a little bit, just because it's good to care a little bit as a human. It would bother you a little bit if someone thinks something wrong of you, but it would bother you less because you're like, okay, I don't even need to question if that's true or not, right? I just, like, think what you want. I don't really give a fuck, because you're so rooted in your own self-concept. However, I think, to me, the fact that these things have bothered me is kind of, to me, like a little, like, alarm bell to myself of like, hey, this is something to like heal a little bit, something to work on a little bit, then maybe you need to strengthen your self-concept. Maybe you need to like become firmer in the fact of that you know who you are and you know that you're a good person, so that these things don't bug you. You know, maybe that's why it bugs you, because you're like, oh my god, is it true? Is that really what I'm like? And I like start flapping about it when it's like, no. I just think it's easy to shake someone up a bit when they haven't got that like firm foundation and certainty of who they are. It does create that like burning desire to explain yourself and want to set it right. I just don't think you would have that strong of a desire and be that easily shaken up if you felt a lot firmer in who you are, because I think, like I said, it can make you start to question, are they right? Is this really what I'm like? Am I the one with a fucking warped perception? Do I think I'm a really good person? And then they're like, yeah, you're not. And or like, I don't like you, or what the fuck. And you're like, oh my god, are they right? Because they're the one, this is like such a mindfuck, but they're the one perceiving me. They're the one interacting with me. They're the one spending time with me. Maybe they're right, because I've actually never really spent time with myself as another person. So like, maybe they're right and I'm fucking delusional. However, that's not true. It's good to think these things sometimes though, because sometimes people are right. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes if someone's like, I think you are a really selfish person and you treat people really badly, and you're like, no, I don't, and like don't even consider it, perhaps they're right. And sometimes you do need to consider that people's criticism of you, right, is warranted, and see that as like an opportunity to not treat people like that. I do think sometimes it is completely warranted and it might hurt, but it's not good to just assume that they're wrong immediately, because sometimes we don't notice these things about ourselves and they're not always intentional, right? But I do think it's important to have your own discernment and be able to disagree with that and not let it shake you too. Because, you know, if someone is saying something that's just a complete projection of themselves, like they're just fucking going off about random shit and it's not true, you need to be able to shake that off and be like, that's not true. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's tricky because you want to detach but not fully. I think that's what's tricky, is you want to detach from really putting weight on what people think of you and not giving it that rent in your brain all the time and being firm in who you are, but you also don't want to give it no weight. Sometimes it's something you need to hear. You know, I've definitely had instances where I've needed to tell someone that, hey, like, you don't treat people well and stuff, do you know what I mean? And that's something that, you know, sometimes that's felt warranted, and I'm like, someone needs to tell you that because you're actually not being a nice person. You know, if people that actually aren't nice people are like, oh, that's not true, then they're not going to fucking change. This is the thing. You need to be able to discern, like, could this possibly, even though it feels uncomfortable, could this possibly have some truth to it? And do I actually need to change anything? Because maybe some of it's true, and maybe some of it isn't. You know, it's like having that discernment in your own brain. I think finding that balance of caring, but not caring too much is tricky. And I think people that, you know, act like they don't give a shit at all what people say about them or what people think about them, and they act like it's just like, oh, just batting away a fly, like, I don't give a fuck. Usually those people are the people that it like keeps them up at night, right? And this is the thing, I think I've been like that before. I think I've been like that in the past, where like I have had that, like, I am like very confident in myself, and I haven't been. Like I've been at that place in my life where I've been like, I don't believe it, I'm very confident in myself, like it doesn't bother me what people think of me. And the times that I have acted like that are the times that it has kept me up at night. This is the thing where it's like completely a facade, and it's like what I want to be, but I'm not. Whereas now, I don't think I'm that bad. Like, I don't act as if I'm like fucking like invincible, you know. And I think the reason that I'm able to be comfortable being more like open about that is because I do give a lot less of a fuck than I used to. Like, it doesn't keep me up at night. However, it's something that I do give rent in my brain. Does this make sense? Like, more rent in my brain than I want. And I do want to strengthen that self-concept, which is something I'm really working on at the moment. I think, to me, like I said, it's kind of just like a little alarm bell of like, hey, like I said, you need to work on like strengthening that you know who you are, and that you know that you're a good person, and you need to be able to bat off people just being bitches, right? And not let it get under your skin, because people are fucking bitches, and we need to be able to not let that like ruin your fucking mental state, right? And B, just a little alarm bell that like maybe I need to give myself more compassion and like self-love and give myself more attention. Like maybe you need to look after yourself a little bit more at the moment, or maybe you've been like not looking after yourself as well, and it's making you more prone to giving a shit about these things, you know? Like maybe you normally wouldn't care so much, but if suddenly randomly you're being really sensitive to it. Maybe you just need a little bit of like self-love. Maybe you need to treat yourself a little bit better. You know, maybe you're just feeling a little bit insecure for one reason or another. You know, but I kind of just saw it as like a sign that I need to really shift my focus, because it showed to me that my focus had been a little bit too outward and a little bit too much on shit that I can't control, annoying people, things going away, like just just the things in life that distract us and disturb our peace, right? Just outward focus. It kind of made me realize like, hey, my focus needs to be drawn back towards me and like my actual life, you know, like how I feel, and looking after myself and making myself feel good, and nurturing the relationships in my life that I do have, and like doing the things that make me feel good, and like just my own life. Like it kind of showed me like, you know, like that's where I want my focus to reside, not in a like selfish way of like, oh, I don't want to like pay attention to other people, you know what I mean? Like you can catch yourself sometimes caring too much about external shit, and it disturbs your peace a lot. And I think these things in my life absolutely needed to happen to kind of trigger that reminder to me that my focus needs to be pulled a little bit more inwards. I need to be prioritizing making sure that I'm feeling good and give less of a fuck about these random things, right? This is not something I want to be my focus. You know, because again, it's something that you can't control. It's an absolute waste of energy. It's good sometimes, like an instance like this where it bothers me, and then it's like, oh, this is why. And it was almost just like a thing that needed to happen to remind me that like, hey, you need to like tweak a couple things to make yourself happier. You know, it's kind of like I don't know, I do believe everything happens for a reason. I think sometimes things just happen to like show you that like, hey, you need to put your focus somewhere else. Do you know what I mean? And I think this is one of those things where like, it's just a random thing that I was like, this is weird. This is making no sense. Why is this happening? And then I was like, oh, okay, it's adding up. It's showing me something. And now I'm feeling so much more like aligned with myself. Does this make sense? I'm feeling so much more like myself. And it's because I've drawn my focus back to myself and stopped putting weight on random shit like that. And I think those things needed to happen for me to realize that my focus was all the way over here and it needed to be all the way over here, right? And when I tell you I'm feeling so much fucking happier, so much more like myself, like, not to be dramatic, but it weirdly feels like everything has just randomly made sense. Not everything in my life, but it feels like a lot of things have suddenly, over the last like couple months or like month, just made sense. And I feel like it's just been like a fire under my ass to come back to myself, you know, because it is easy to get distracted, you know, even when like I'm someone who generally, I do take really good care of myself, and it's not like I've been not doing that recently, like I have been. That's what's weird, is I also felt like I was taking care of myself as much as I could. I was making all the best decisions for myself, you know, like I wasn't feeling like off. I wasn't feeling like, oh, this feels weird, I need to make some change. I was like, I feel fine, like I'm looking after myself, I feel good. But now I'm like, now I feel good. Now I feel like myself. And it's crazy because it's sometimes things that you don't even like want to happen that like turn out to be exactly what you need, right? You know, and it's like these, can you hear the fucking construction? It's just got really loud. And it's like these like uncomfortable experiences for me recently have really like highlighted to me like there's an area that you need to focus on and pay attention to and like tweak a couple things and work on it for yourself that I don't think I would have noticed. This is what I mean. I wasn't really aware that there was an issue, but then things happen sometimes and they trigger like, oh, that's a weak spot for me. And they're the kind of things that make me very glad that I reflect on things. They make me very glad that I do mull things over. And I think it's so important to be self-aware and actually like consider all angles when things happen sometimes, because sometimes there's a thing in there that you could miss. Sit and kind of think about these things and think about like how they felt and why did they feel like that and how did blah, blah, blah. Do you know what I mean? I would not have picked up on the fucking lesson in these things. I would have just been like, this is so shit, you know? But it's like I really thought about it, and then I realized, oh my god, I know why this has happened. Do you know what I mean? Like, this makes sense. This needs to happen. And this is what I need to do, and blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't realize those things if you kind of just think, like, things are happening to me, life sucks, that's so unfair. You know, sometimes, life is unfair, though, by the way. Life is unfair. But sometimes things happen that are uncomfortable that you don't want. But if you fucking think about them, you're getting something bigger in return. If you see what I mean? Like, it feels like a loss, but it is a fucking gain. It's not a loss. You know, for me here, realizing that like I'm putting too much weight without even realizing on what people think of me, and that's just ticking away in my brain all the time without me even realizing, and making me feel worse, I'm sure, and bleeding into other areas. I'm sure that that's not like an insecurity that I want to keep. And then once you become aware of it, that's when you can fucking do something about it. But you can't do that if, like I said earlier, if you are pretending to yourself that things don't bother you. This is where I've been in the past. If you're pretending that this doesn't bother you, this isn't a problem, that you can just bat it all away, and that you're like good with stuff that you're not. Do you know what I mean? Because deep down, you know when something's bothering you. I think it's very tempting sometimes because of the ego, right? To pretend like things don't bug you, things don't bother you. You're all tough and strong and these things don't get under your skin. But it's so much better to fucking acknowledge when things are, because that's the thing. Pretending to other people is one thing, but pretending to yourself is another. Acknowledging within yourself when there's areas to work on, or when things are bothering you that you wish weren't, I think is huge, because it's like, then you can change that. Then you can strengthen those like weak spots, you know, and you can realize that, oh, it's because I'm focusing too much on this. Oh, maybe it's because I'm not looking after myself enough at the moment. Maybe it's because I've been sleeping really late. Maybe it's because I've been talking to myself in a really negative way and my self-esteem is a bit low. You know, maybe it's because you're on your period. It could be anything, but being able to kind of connect the dots sometimes is just kind of the only way to evolve as a human being, I feel like. And I feel like recently I have just had like a fucking growth spurt as a human being emotionally, and due to things that I didn't enjoy. That's the thing. It usually is though, isn't it? Usually when something happens that's painful, that's when, why am I fucking talking with my hands so much? Do I do that? I definitely do. I'm gonna hate editing this now, I've become aware of that. But yeah, usually things that like are uncomfortable, or things that hurt your feelings, or things that, you know, get under your skin, usually that is where you grow. And that's why you need to be honest with yourself, I think, about when things are bothering you and why are they bothering you. Maybe are people right? This is the thing, like I said, if someone's saying something to you, or not liking you, or being mean to you, or calling you this or whatever, are they right? Because maybe that's the reason it's bothering you. It's just important to be able to mull over it and work out, why is it bothering you? Is it because you're just putting too much weight on it? Is it because you just care too much about what people think and you need to work on that? Or is it because you know that they're right and they're kind of hitting a weak spot for you? You know, like I said at the start, if someone says really selfish and you don't treat people well and it bugs you, is it because you kind of know that you can be like that? Is it because there are many instances that you can think of in your life where you have acted that way and you think, shit, I'm being called out? Is that why it's fucking hitting your ego, you know? You know, I think it's also important to question the source. You know, is it coming from someone who cares about you, or then someone who knows you, who, you know, has the grounds to say these things, you know? Because then it's like, I would probably give it a think, because there could be some fucking truth to that. You know, that's probably good to think, could they be right about that? But sometimes it's like, people don't really know you. People don't really know the full story. People haven't really spent much time with you. People don't really know your character. And then it can still bug you. This is the thing. It will still bug you. It can still get under your skin for whatever reason, whoever. If someone doesn't fucking like you, it's still annoying. But it shouldn't be that annoying. This is my point. This is my goal. But yeah, like I said, like the discernment between like, this is someone who like really knows me and spent a lot of time with me, maybe they're right, or this is someone that doesn't fucking know me, and you know, and maybe you think actually they're quite immature and like their opinion of me means fuck all, you know, like working, like discerning between these things I think is really important. But yeah, I don't know, just allowing people to have their own perceptions of you, to release that kind of control freak in you and allow people to have their own evaluations, their own perceptions, their own opinions of you, and to be able to be okay with that, genuinely, not pretending, not lying to yourself, but genuinely to like let go of the rope and be okay with that, and know that that is gonna happen. People are gonna like you, people are not gonna like you, and you just need to get on with your fucking life and do what you're doing. You know, you have things to do, you have hobbies, you have relationships, you have your habits. Like, it doesn't need to derail that, and it doesn't need to get under your skin so much. It's something you can't control. And I think that is what I've been thinking about a lot recently, allowing people to have whatever perception they want of me, and standing stronger in my brain of knowing what I'm like and just getting on with my fucking life. I think that is very important. So yeah, some food for thought. Thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me in my makeup room. And yeah, I will talk to you again probably next week, if not soon.